Chapter 1: The Reunion. The air hung thick with the cloying sweetness of nostalgia and the bitter tang of regret. The university reunion shimmered with the promise of rekindled friendships and the awkwardness of confronting the ghosts of yesterday. For me, Boda, it meant facing Liu Ru Yan, the ice-cold campus beauty who had once set my heart ablaze, only to leave it a smoldering ruin. Years had passed since our fiery, ill-fated romance crashed and burned, leaving me with scars I thought had long since healed. Now here she was transformed. Liu Ru Yan, no longer the struggling student I knew, exuded an aura of power and success, a testament to her remarkable climb up the social ladder. Whispers followed her like a devoted entourage, classmates murmuring about my misfortune, my lost opportunity. They didn't know the truth, the agonizing pleas I'd made, the cold dismissal, the get lost that had echoed in my ears for years. I'd moved on, I told myself, burying the remnants of that heartbreak deep within my soul. I'd built a life, a modest business in construction, a world away from the glittering sphere Liu Ru Yan now inhabited. Yet, seeing her again, a pang of something I hadn't anticipated, not regret, not exactly, but a strange, hollow ache, resonated within me. The banquet hall buzzed with forced joviality. Old acquaintances, their faces softened and lined by time, toasted Liu Ru Yan, their words dripping with admiration. "You're an inspiration to us all, Ru Yan," they exclaimed. "We need appointments to see you these days." She accepted their tributes with a detached grace, sipping her wine, a queen holding court. Her empire, I'd heard, was vast, a sprawling business worth billions, headquartered in the city's most coveted real estate. I retreated to a corner, the boisterous camaraderie a stark contrast to the quiet solitude I'd grown accustomed to. My phone became my refuge, a shield against the uncomfortable memories swirling around me. Suddenly, a voice boomed across the room, shattering my fragile peace. "Boda, don't hide behind your phone. You and Liu Ru Yan were so close. Come say hello." A nudge, a knowing glance, and the whispers started again. "Isn't that Chang next to Liu Ru Yan? Remember Boda? That's ancient history." All eyes turned to me, then to Liu Ru Yan, then to Chang, a silent narrative weaving between us. I met Liu Ru Yan's gaze across the room. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us, a chasm where once an easy flow of conversation had existed. We were neighbors, childhood friends, raised in the same courtyard. I remembered a small, bruised Liu Ru Yan, cowering in the shadows of her abusive father's house. I remembered my mother, a force of nature, confronting the man, her voice a weapon against injustice. I remembered approaching the silent, stoic child, my tiny hand cupping her face, whispering, "I'll blow on it, and it will be all better." Those early years were filled with shared secrets, whispered confidences, and unspoken understanding. I was the clingy younger sibling she tolerated, then embraced. She was my protector, the fierce defender who fought my battles, the steady presence who celebrated my triumphs and soothed my anxieties. We navigated the complexities of childhood together, two souls finding solace in each other's company. The gradual drift, began with Chang's arrival. They shared classes, common interests, a language I couldn't speak. My world, once filled with Liu Ru Yan, began to shrink, the vibrant tapestry of our shared experiences fading into muted hues. Now, at this reunion, the past pressed in on me, suffocating me with its weight. The jovial banter of my classmates grated on my nerves. "You're not married, are you, Boda? Don't be embarrassed. Where's your wife?" Their disbelief was palpable, their insistence bordering on cruel. "She's busy?" I mumbled, a flimsy excuse that fooled no one. Not even Liu Ru Yan, whose rigid posture seemed to relax slightly at my words. It was Chang who finally intervened, his voice carrying the weight of his newfound status. "Let's focus on celebrating everyone. Let's not pry into personal matters." The conversation shifted, the spotlight mercifully moving away from me. As the evening wound down, the crowd thinned, leaving only myself, Liu Ru Yan, and Chang. Liu Ru Yan, ignoring Chang, walked towards me. Each step she took forward, I instinctively retreated, a silent dance of avoidance. She stopped, her voice soft. "Are you afraid of me? I can give you a ride home." "No, thank you," I replied, my voice tight. "Someone is coming to pick me up." "Your wife?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Before I could answer, Chang appeared, his arm casually draped around Liu Ru Yan's shoulders. "Let Ru Yan give you a ride, Boda." We have nothing else planned. I shook my head, my resolve hardening. Someone is coming. You two go ahead. Liu Ru Yan's patience seemed to snap. She shrugged off Ito Cheng's arm and reached for my wrist, her grip surprisingly firm. Just as I was wondering how to extricate myself, a sleek black car, its hazard lights flashing, pulled up outside. My ride had arrived. Shen Man, the enigmatic figure I'd met briefly in London, hurried towards me, an umbrella shielding her from the fine drizzle that had begun to fall. She greeted me with a polite nod, her eyes flicking towards Liu Ru Yan, who returned the gesture with cool indifference. I slipped my wrist from Liu Ru Yan's grasp and followed Shen Man to the car. The drive home was filled with Shen Man's effortless conversation, a stark contrast to the strained silence I'd shared with Liu Ru Yan. She spoke of business, of her work with X Group, of her connection to Shen You Chu, the name sending a ripple of warmth through me. I acknowledged her words, my mind preoccupied with the encounter with Liu Ru Yan, the unresolved emotions stirring within me. As the car pulled up to my parents' apartment, I saw them waiting outside, their faces etched with worry and love. I greeted them with a forced cheerfulness, my heart heavy with a mixture of guilt and affection. Inside, the table was laden with my favorite dishes, a testament to their unwavering love. I felt a lump forming in my throat, the familiar comfort of home a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil I'd experienced that evening. My parents, ever perceptive, danced around the subject of Liu Ru Yan, their concern veiled in gentle questions. Did you see anyone you knew? Any unpleasant encounters? I downplayed the significance of the reunion, telling them of Liu Ru Yan and Ito Cheng, painting a picture of indifference that I wasn't entirely sure I felt. The conversation shifted to my time abroad, to my treatment for depression, to the slow but steady progress I'd made under the care of Dr. Laura. I spoke of my impending final checkup, the hope of a normal life finally within reach. My parents' relief was palpable, their joy a balm to my weary soul. I thought of Shen You Chu, the other person who had borne the brunt of my illness, the silent partner in my struggle. I glanced at my parents, a secret warming my chest, a story I wasn't yet ready to share. Some things I realized were best revealed in their own time. And Shen You Chu, the person who held the other half of my secret, was on his way home. Chapter 2. The Shadow of the Past. The following days were a blur of mundane activities, a deliberate attempt to push the reunion and Liu Ru Yan to the back of my mind. I wandered the city, a ghost in my own life, the vibrant tapestry of urban life failing to penetrate the fog of my thoughts. The idleness gnawed at me, a constant reminder of my aimlessness. Seeking a sense of purpose, I signed up for volunteer work at the local museum, a quiet refuge amidst the city's chaos. My first weekend shift involved donning a traditional hanfu, its flowing silk a stark contrast to the casual clothes I usually wore. The changing room, a makeshift space tucked away in a corner, lacked a mirror. I fumbled with the sash, my fingers clumsy and unsure. Suddenly, a pair of hands reached from behind me, their touch cool and efficient, expertly tying the knot. I turned, the word thank you dying on my lips as I met Liu Ru Yan's gaze. She surveyed my attire, a flicker of approval in her eyes. It looks good on you, she said, her voice surprisingly soft. You're volunteering here? I nodded, a strange mix of annoyance and resignation swirling within me. Then give me a tour, she said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. I want the VIP treatment. I mumbled something about finding a colleague, my mind racing for an escape route. I need to take some promotional photos, I added, grasping at any excuse. I'll wait, she said, her voice firm. Defeated, I rushed to the small plaza, leaving her standing there, a silent observer. Her presence, even from a distance, was unsettling, a constant reminder of our shared history. I tried to focus on the photographer's instructions, but her gaze, unwavering and intense, made me self-conscious. If she had looked at me like that 16 years ago, I would have been a blushing mess. Now, I simply averted my eyes, a practiced indifference masking the turmoil within. We were both starting over, building new lives, separate and distinct. Why couldn't we pretend the other didn't exist? Why did her presence still hold such power over me? We were both failing at being exes, I realized, the ghost of our past relationship haunting us both. Our relationship, now a distant memory, had begun with a simple question, a nervous confession on Liu Ru Yan's part. I had received a love letter, a clumsy declaration of affection from a classmate I barely knew. Liu Ru Yan, her usual composure shattered, had confronted me, her voice laced with anxiety. Did you accept? She'd asked, her eyes searching mine. No, I'd replied, genuinely bewildered. I don't even know him. Relief washed over her face, followed by a hesitant, almost shy question. So, if you wanted to date someone, would you date me? I hadn't been thinking about dating, not really. But with Liu Ru Yan, the idea suddenly seemed appealing. I shuffled my feet, a playful smile spreading across my face. Okay, I'd said, the words sealing our fate. Looking back, the ease with which we'd entered into the relationship mirrored the ease with which it had fallen apart. Perhaps if it had begun with a grand gesture, a public declaration of love, things would have been different. But those were just wistful thoughts, a futile attempt to rewrite history. The photo shoot finally ended, and Liu Ru Yan was still there, her gaze fixed on me. As I gathered my things, she called me over. Did you come alone? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. What about Ito-chang? She looked at me, a flicker of annoyance in her eyes. What does Ito-chang have to do with me coming to the museum? I thought you were together, I said, the words slipping out before I could stop them. Aren't you? Who told you that? She asked, her voice sharp. Are you jealous? I was about to deny it when she cut me off, her voice softening. We're not together. The reunion. We just happened to run into each other. She paused, her gaze searching mine. Now, take me on that tour. I led her through the quiet galleries, the hushed atmosphere a stark contrast to the boisterous reunion. As we walked, she asked about Shinman, the woman who had picked me up. I hesitated, then decided on honesty. We're not close, I said. She knows my wife. My wife is on a business trip in Switzerland, so she asked Shunman. My words trailed off as Liu Ru Yan stopped abruptly, her face draining of color. Your wife? She whispered, the words barely audible. It hit me then. None of them had believed me at the reunion. Did I really look that unmarried? I met her gaze, her expression a mixture of disbelief and something akin to betrayal. Liu Ru Yan, I said softly. I really am married. A strained smile twisted her lips. If you're trying to use marriage as an excuse to avoid me, I held up my left hand, the simple silver band glinting in the soft light. This is my wedding ring. I'm not lying. Liu Ru Yan swayed slightly, as if a sudden gust of wind had knocked her off balance. When? She asked, her voice hollow. Recently, I replied. Last month, actually. The details seemed irrelevant, unnecessary. Recently, she repeated, the word hanging in the air like a fragile ornament about to shatter. Gee, Boda, Ito-chang is not my boyfriend. He never was. Do you know why? I remained silent, my heart pounding in my chest. I was waiting for you to come back, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I waited 6 years, and you got married. She covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. How could you? I looked down at the ground, the weight of her words pressing down on me. I didn't know you were waiting, I said quietly. You told me to get lost. I glanced around, my voice dropping to a near whisper. And, didn't you think I was disgusting? The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken pain and regret. The past, it seemed, had a long shadow, stretching across the years, threatening to engulf us both. Chapter 3. Unraveling the Truth. Liu Ru Yan's choked sobs echoed in the quiet museum hallway, a stark counterpoint to the carefully curated exhibits surrounding us. Her words, "How could you?" reverberated in my mind, a painful accusation I couldn't fully refute. I had moved on, built a new life, found happiness in unexpected places. But the past, like a persistent shadow, clung to me, refusing to be dismissed. I never thought you were disgusting, she said, her voice thick with emotion. My mind was a mess. I blamed myself for what happened. Seeing you, it reminded me of my own guilt. The memories of that night, the night that had shattered my world, flooded back, vivid and agonizing. The frantic phone call from Liu Ru Yan's roommate, the desperate race to the secluded area behind the university, the chilling encounter with the deranged woman, the violation that had left me trembling and broken. And then, Liu Ru Yan's arrival, her initial concern quickly replaced by a recoiling, a visceral disgust that had cut me deeper than any physical wound. I didn't mean to break up with you, she continued, her voice trembling. I just couldn't think straight. I didn't want to leave you. I never did. The words, a belated apology, a confession of regret, offered little solace. The damage had been done, the scars etched deep into my soul. Liu Ru Yan, the person I had trusted implicitly, the one who had always been my refuge, had become the source of my deepest pain. Our relationship, once a source of strength and comfort, had become a minefield of insecurities and misunderstandings. The incident on the hill had been the catalyst, the breaking point that had exposed the fragility of our bond. Liu Ru Yan, consumed by guilt and self-reproach, had pushed me away, her words a cruel weapon wielded in a moment of despair. I was so insecure, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. I kept trying to see you to make sure you were okay. But you were distant, angry. You said you needed space, time to think. I should have given you that. I remembered the frustration, the overwhelming need for reassurance, the desperate attempts to bridge the growing chasm between us. I remembered her outburst, the harsh words that had sent me reeling. I see you, and I feel sick. Just get lost. The words, a cruel dismissal, had echoed in my ears for years, a constant reminder of my perceived inadequacy. I had retreated, wounded and confused, seeking solace in the anonymity of a foreign land. I didn't know what to do, she said, her voice breaking. I was so scared. I thought it was my fault. If I hadn't gone looking for you, that night. Her words trailed off, the unspoken guilt hanging heavy in the air. I looked at her, the years of resentment and anger slowly dissolving into a strange mixture of pity and understanding. She had been a victim too, a casualty of circumstance, her actions driven by fear and self-loathing. Ido Chang, she began, her voice hesitant. He wasn't my boyfriend. He liked me, but I never reciprocated. I was waiting for you. The revelation, unexpected and unsettling, added another layer of complexity to our already tangled history. Ido Chang, the perceived rival, the catalyst for our separation, had been a pawn in a game he didn't even understand. Liu Ru Yan's confession, a belated attempt to rewrite the narrative of our past, left me feeling more confused than ever. I didn't know, I said, the words a simple statement of fact. You told me to leave. I thought you were disgusted by me. She shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. No. I was disgusted by myself. I blamed myself for everything. I thought you deserved better. The silence stretched between us, filled with unspoken regrets and what-ifs. The past, a tangled web of misunderstandings and missed opportunities, seemed insurmountable, a barrier between us that couldn't be breached. I'm married now, I reminded her gently, the words a subtle attempt to draw a line, to create a boundary between our past and present. A flicker of pain crossed her face, quickly replaced by a resigned acceptance. I know, she said softly. I saw your wife. She's beautiful. The mention of Shen You Chu brought a warmth to my chest, a stark contrast to the coldness that had settled around me. I thought of her infectious laughter, her unwavering support, the love that had healed the wounds of my past. Shen You Chu, the unexpected love of my life, the woman who had shown me that happiness was possible, even after the devastation I had endured. I should go, I said, my voice gentle. My wife is waiting for me. Liu Ru Yan nodded, her expression a mixture of sadness and understanding. Of course, she said softly. Take care, Boda. I turned to leave, the weight of our shared history pressing down on me. As I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that a chapter of my life, a chapter filled with both joy and sorrow, had finally come to a close. The past, though painful, had shaped me, molded me into the person I was today. And now, with Shen You Chu by my side, I was ready to embrace the future, to leave the shadows of the past behind. Chapter 4. A Life Interrupted. Leaving Liu Ru Yan standing alone in the hushed museum hallway felt like severing a limb, a painful but necessary amputation. The conversation, a raw and honest dissection of our past, had left me emotionally drained, the resurrected memories clinging to me like cobwebs. I needed Shen You Chu, her warmth, her unwavering optimism, to dispel the lingering chill. The drive home was a blur of city lights and swirling thoughts. I replayed the conversation with Liu Ru Yan, her tearful confessions, her belated apologies, her unexpected revelation about Ido Chang. It was a puzzle with missing pieces, a story with conflicting narratives. I had been so certain of my interpretation of events, so convinced of her disgust, her rejection. Now, her words had cast a different light on the past, a perspective that both intrigued and unsettled me. The incident on the hill, the catalyst for our downfall, had been a cruel twist of fate, a random act of violence that had exposed the fault lines in our relationship. I had sought comfort, reassurance, a safe harbor in the storm. Instead, I had been met with distance, anger, and ultimately rejection. Liu Ru Yan, consumed by her own guilt and self-reproach, had pushed me away, her words a weapon wielded in a moment of despair. I thought of the aftermath, the weeks spent in a fog of despair, the failed suicide attempt, the tear-stained faces of my parents, their quiet desperation as they made arrangements for me to leave the country, to escape the memories that haunted me. England had been a refuge, a place to heal, to rebuild the shattered fragments of my life. Dr. Laura, with her unconventional methods and unwavering belief in my ability to recover, had been my lifeline, guiding me through the darkest days. And then, there was Shen You Chu, the unexpected ray of sunshine in my otherwise bleak existence. Our first encounter, a chance meeting in Dr. Laura's waiting room, had been a moment of serendipitous connection. She had looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and concern, and something within me had shifted. I had been so used to pity, to the hushed whispers and averted gazes of those who knew my story. Shen You Chu, however, had seen me, truly seen me, and hadn't flinched. Our subsequent encounters, seemingly accidental but orchestrated by a mischievous fate, had drawn us closer. The rainy day I had collapsed on the street, the sudden onset of blindness and deafness, the overwhelming fear that had gripped me. She had been there, scooping me up in her arms, her voice a calming presence in the chaos. She had taken me to the hospital, stayed by my side, her unwavering support a beacon in the darkness. I had tried to push her away, to warn her of the damaged goods I was, the baggage I carried. I had recounted the events of that night, the violation, the rejection, the subsequent breakdown. I had laid bare my soul, expecting her to recoil, to run from the darkness that clung to me. Instead, she had held my hand tighter, her voice firm and unwavering. "I don't care about your past," she had said, her eyes locking with mine. "I care about you." Her persistence, her unwavering belief in me, had chipped away at the walls I had built around my heart. She had seen the broken pieces and hadn't been afraid to pick them up, to help me put them back together. She had shown me that love wasn't about perfection, but about acceptance, about embracing the flaws and imperfections that made us who we were. Our relationship had blossomed in the unlikeliest of places, amidst the sterile environment of a therapist's office and the bustling streets of a foreign city. We had found solace in each other's company, a shared understanding that transcended language and cultural barriers. She had been patient with my recovery, understanding of my anxieties, her love a constant source of strength and encouragement. Her proposal, a simple question asked with a nervous smile, had been the culmination of our journey, a testament to the healing power of love. "Marry me?" she had asked, her eyes shining with hope and affection. I had said yes, without hesitation, my heart overflowing with a joy I hadn't thought possible. Now, as I pulled into the parking garage of our apartment building, I felt a surge of gratitude for the unexpected turn my life had taken. The past, though painful, had led me to this moment, to this life I hadn't dared to dream of. I stepped out of the car, the cool evening air a welcome contrast to the turmoil of my thoughts. I was home, not just to the apartment I shared with Shen You Chu, but to a sense of belonging, a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. The past, I realized, was finally behind me. The future, with Shen You Chu by my side, stretched before me, filled with promise and possibility. Chapter 5. The Unexpected Encounter. The apartment was filled with the comforting aroma of Shen You Chu's cooking, a fragrant blend of spices that always managed to soothe my frayed nerves. I found her in the kitchen, humming softly as she stirred a pot on the stove, her back to me. I wrapped my arms around her waist, burying my face in her hair, inhaling the familiar scent of her perfume. "Welcome home," she said, her voice warm and welcoming. "How was your day?" "Eventful," I replied, the word a vast understatement. I hesitated, unsure how to broach the subject of my encounter with Liu Ru Yan. "I saw Liu Ru Yan today," I finally said, the words hanging in the air between us. Shen You Chu turned, her expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Oh," she said softly. "How is she?" I recounted the conversation, the raw emotions, the tearful confessions, the unexpected revelations. I told her about Liu Ru Yan's guilt, her regret, her belated apology. I told her about Ito Chung, the unwitting pawn in a game of unrequited love. I laid bare the complexities of our past, the tangled web of misunderstandings and missed opportunities. Shen You Chu listened patiently, her hand resting on mine, her touch a silent reassurance. When I finished, she remained silent for a moment, her eyes thoughtful. "It sounds like she's carrying a lot of pain," she finally said, her voice gentle. It must have been difficult for you to hear all of that. I nodded, the weight of the conversation settling back on me. It was, I admitted. It brought back a lot of memories, a lot of pain. I can imagine, she said softly. But it's over now, isn't it? You've moved on. You have me. Her words, simple yet profound, resonated deep within me. She was right. The past, though painful, was behind me. I had Shen You Chu, her unwavering love, her unwavering belief in me. I had a future, a life filled with promise and possibility. I do, I said, my voice filled with gratitude. I have you. We ate dinner in comfortable silence, the lingering tension of the afternoon slowly dissipating. Afterwards, we curled up on the sofa, watching a mindless movie, our bodies intertwined, her warmth a comforting presence against my side. The mundane normalcy of the evening, the simple act of being together, was a balm to my weary soul. The following day, I accompanied Shen You Chu to a business meeting, a rare glimpse into her world of high-powered executives and multi-million-dollar deals. The meeting took place at a prestigious golf club, a world away from my usual haunts. As we walked towards the clubhouse, I noticed a familiar figure standing near the putting green. It was Liu Ru Yan, her back to us, her posture stiff and tense. I hesitated, unsure whether to acknowledge her presence. Before I could make a decision, Shen You Chu spotted her as well. "Isn't that Liu Ru Yan?" she asked, her voice curious. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. The unexpected encounter, so soon after our conversation at the museum, felt like a cruel twist of fate. Before I could say anything, Liu Ru Yan turned, her eyes widening in surprise as she saw us. An awkward silence hung in the air, the unspoken tension palpable. I glanced at Shen You Chu, her expression calm and composed, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within me. "Hello, Ru Yan," Shen You Chu said, her voice warm and friendly. "It's nice to see you again." Liu Ru Yan's gaze flickered between Shen You Chu and me, her expression unreadable. "Hello," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. The small talk, strained and superficial, felt like a flimsy bridge over a deep chasm. I could feel Liu Ru Yan's eyes on me, her gaze intense and searching. I avoided her gaze, my mind racing for an escape route. Just as the tension became unbearable, a group of businessmen approached, their voices booming across the manicured lawn. They greeted Shen You Chu with enthusiastic handshakes and backslaps, their words a mix of business jargon and casual banter. I recognized a few of them as local tycoons, their names synonymous with wealth and power. They turned to me, their eyes curious. Shen You Chu, sensing my discomfort, stepped forward, her hand resting on my arm. "Let me introduce you," she said, her voice clear and confident. "This is my husband, Boda." The words, a simple declaration of our relationship, hung in the air, a silent challenge to the unspoken tension between Liu Ru Yan and me. The businessmen, oblivious to the underlying currents, greeted me with polite smiles and nods, their words a mix of compliments and congratulations. Liu Ru Yan's face, however, paled visibly, her expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. The conversation shifted, the focus moving away from me, but I could still feel Liu Ru Yan's gaze on me, her eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions I couldn't decipher. I avoided her gaze, my heart pounding in my chest, the unexpected encounter leaving me feeling shaken and exposed. The past, it seemed, was not so easily dismissed. It lingered, a ghost in the shadows, threatening to disrupt the fragile peace I had found with Shen You Chu. Chapter 6. The Weight of Words. The forced pleasantries with the businessmen felt like an eternity, each polite smile and empty compliment amplifying the unspoken tension between Liu Ru Yan and me. I could feel her gaze on me, a palpable weight that made it difficult to breathe. I stole glances at Shen You Chu, her composure unwavering, her smile radiating genuine warmth. She navigated the social intricacies with effortless grace, her presence a calming anchor in the turbulent waters of my emotions. The conversation eventually drifted towards business, the intricate details of mergers and acquisitions a welcome distraction from the emotional undercurrents swirling around us. I tuned out the jargon, my mind preoccupied with Liu Ru Yan's reaction to Shen You Chu's introduction. The shock, the disbelief, the flicker of pain in her eyes. It was a complex mix of emotions I couldn't fully decipher. Had she truly been waiting for me all these years? Had she genuinely believed that we would find our way back to each other? Her confessions at the museum, her tearful apologies, her belated explanation about Ito Chang. It all pointed to a deep-seated regret, a longing for a past that could never be reclaimed. And now, here was Shen You Chu, the embodiment of my present, my future, a stark reminder of the life I had built, the happiness I had found in unexpected places. The contrast between the two women, the past and the present, was stark and unsettling. Liu Ru Yan, the ghost of a lost love, and Shen You Chu, the vibrant reality of my present happiness. The businessmen finally excused themselves, leaving Shen You Chu, Liu Ru Yan, and me standing in an awkward triangle of unspoken emotions. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. It was Shen You Chu who finally broke the silence, her voice calm and composed. "Ru Yan," she said, her eyes meeting Liu Ru Yan's. "Boda told me about everything, about what happened on the hill, about the misunderstanding that led to your breakup." Liu Ru Yan's gaze dropped to the ground, her silence a tacit acknowledgement of Shen You Chu's words. The air crackled with unspoken tension, the weight of the past pressing down on us. "I understand that you're hurting," Shen You Chu continued, her voice gentle. "But Boda has moved on. He's happy with me. I hope you can find peace and happiness too." Her words, though kind, were a clear demarcation of boundaries, a gentle but firm assertion of her place in my life. Liu Ru Yan looked up, her eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment, a flicker of sadness and resignation in their depths. I wish you both happiness," she said, her voice barely a whisper. She turned and walked away, her shoulders slumped, her gait heavy with unspoken regret. I watched her go, a strange mix of relief and sadness washing over me. The past, though finally addressed, still cast a long shadow, a reminder of the pain and heartbreak we had both endured. I turned to Shen You Chu, her hand reaching out to take mine, her touch a silent reassurance. "Thank you," I said, my voice filled with gratitude. "For everything." She smiled, her eyes filled with warmth and understanding. "You don't need to thank me," she said softly. "I love you. That's all that matters." Her words, a simple declaration of love, were a balm to my weary soul. I squeezed her hand, the warmth of her touch a tangible reminder of the present, the future we were building together. The past, with its tangled web of emotions, was finally receding, replaced by the bright promise of a shared life, a life filled with love and happiness. We left the golf club, the tension of the encounter slowly dissipating as we drove away. Shen You Chu, ever perceptive, sensed my lingering unease. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice gentle. "I am now," I replied, my voice filled with conviction. "I have you," she smiled, her eyes shining with love and affection. "And I have you," she said softly. "Always." The rest of the day passed in a blur of mundane activities, the normalcy a welcome contrast to the emotional roller coaster of the past few days. As I lay in bed that night, Shen You Chu's warm body nestled against mine. I felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years. The past, with its ghosts and shadows, was finally behind me. I had Shen You Chu, my present, my future, and that was all that mattered. The weight of words, the burden of unspoken emotions, had finally been lifted, replaced by the lightness of love, the promise of a shared life, a future filled with hope and happiness. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. The encounter at the golf club, though unsettling, had a cathartic effect, a final purging of the lingering remnants of my past relationship with Liu Ru Yan. Her departure, her whispered words of well-wishing, felt like a closing of a chapter, a final farewell to a love that had once burned so brightly, only to fade into ashes. The past, though a part of me, no longer held the power to define me. I had Shen You Chu, my present, my future, and that was all that mattered. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity, a flurry of wedding preparations as we geared up for the ceremony we had planned in England. Shen You Chu, ever the efficient organizer, took charge of the arrangements, her meticulous attention to detail ensuring that everything was perfect. I watched in amusement as she navigated the complexities of vendor negotiations and seating charts, her energy seemingly boundless. My parents, initially apprehensive about our whirlwind romance and elopement, had warmed to Shen You Chu, her charm and genuine affection winning them over. They embraced her as a daughter, their initial reservations replaced by a deep love and respect. The wedding, they declared, would be a celebration not just of our union, but of the happiness she had brought into our lives. The ceremony was a small, intimate affair, held in a picturesque chapel nestled amidst the rolling hills of the English countryside. Shen You Chu, radiant in a simple white dress, took my breath away. As we exchanged vows, her eyes shining with love and happiness, I felt a surge of emotion, a profound sense of gratitude for the unexpected turn my life had taken. Dr. Laura, beaming with pride, stood witness to our union, a silent testament to the healing power of love. The reception, held in a charming country inn, was a joyous celebration, filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt toasts. Shen You Chu's family, who had flown in from various corners of the globe, embraced me with open arms, their warmth and acceptance a welcome contrast to the coldness I had once known. I felt a sense of belonging, a sense of family I hadn't realized I was missing. After the festivities, Shen You Chu and I retreated to a secluded cottage overlooking the sea, a tranquil haven away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. We spent our days exploring the rugged coastline, our evenings curled up by the fire, our bodies intertwined, our conversations a mix of whispered confidences and shared dreams. It was a time of blissful escape, a chance to reconnect, to solidify the bond that had grown between us. As our honeymoon drew to a close, a sense of anticipation filled me. We were returning home, not just to our apartment, but to a new life together, a life filled with promise and possibility. I thought of the challenges that lay ahead, the adjustments we would have to make, the complexities of merging our lives. But with Shen You Chu by my side, I felt a sense of confidence, a sense of unwavering certainty that we could navigate anything life threw our way. Our return to the city was marked by a flurry of activity, unpacking, settling back into our routine, reconnecting with friends and colleagues. Shen You Chu, ever the energetic multitasker, seamlessly transitioned back into her demanding work schedule, her days filled with meetings, presentations, and international conference calls. I, on the other hand, struggled to find my footing, the idleness of the past few months leaving me feeling restless and unfulfilled. I considered returning to my construction business, but the thought filled me with a sense of apathy. The work, once a source of pride and accomplishment, now seemed meaningless, a pale imitation of the passion I had once felt. I needed something more, something that would challenge me, ignite my creativity, and give me a sense of purpose. As I pondered my options, Shen You Chu suggested volunteering at a local community center, a place that offered a variety of programs for underprivileged children. The idea intrigued me, the prospect of making a difference in the lives of others a welcome challenge. I signed up, eager to embrace this new opportunity, to find a new direction, a new beginning. My first day at the community center was a chaotic mix of laughter, tears, and unexpected challenges. The children, a diverse group of ages and backgrounds, were a whirlwind of energy, their enthusiasm both infectious and exhausting. I found myself drawn to their resilience, their unwavering optimism in the face of adversity. It was a humbling experience, a reminder of the simple joys of life, the importance of connection, the power of human kindness. As I left the community center that evening, a sense of fulfillment washed over me, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. I had found my purpose, a new direction, a new beginning. The past, with its shadows and regrets, was finally fading, replaced by the bright light of hope, the promise of a future filled with meaning and purpose. And with Shen You Chu by my side, I knew that anything was possible. Chapter 8. Finding my place. The community center became my sanctuary, a vibrant hub of activity that filled the void I hadn't realized existed in my life. The children, with their boundless energy and infectious laughter, were a constant source of inspiration, their resilience a testament to the human spirit. I found myself drawn to their stories, their struggles, their triumphs, each interaction a lesson in empathy and understanding. I worked with a diverse group of volunteers, individuals from all walks of life, each with their own unique skills and experiences. There was Mrs. Rodriguez, a retired teacher with a heart of gold, her patience and gentle guidance a calming presence amidst the chaos. There was David, a young college student with a passion for social justice, his energy and enthusiasm infectious. And there was Sarah, a single mother juggling multiple jobs, her unwavering dedication a testament to the power of human kindness. Together, we created a supportive and nurturing environment for the children, a place where they could learn, grow, and simply be themselves. We organized after-school programs, tutoring sessions, and weekend outings, each activity designed to foster a sense of community, to empower the children to reach their full potential. I discovered a hidden talent for storytelling, captivating the children with tales of faraway lands and mythical creatures. Their wide-eyed wonder, their eager questions, ignited a spark of creativity within me, a passion I hadn't realized I possessed. I began writing my own stories, weaving together elements of fantasy, adventure, and real-life experiences, creating worlds where anything was possible. Shen You Chu, ever supportive, encouraged my newfound passion, her unwavering belief in me a constant source of strength and inspiration. She listened patiently as I read my stories aloud, offering constructive criticism and enthusiastic praise. She saw the spark in my eyes, the renewed sense of purpose that had taken root within me, and she nurtured it with her love and encouragement. "You have a gift, Boda," she said one evening, her eyes shining with admiration. "You have a way of connecting with people, of touching their hearts with your words. You should share your stories with the world." Her words, a simple expression of faith, resonated deep within me. I had found my voice, my purpose, a way to channel my experiences, my emotions, into something meaningful and impactful. I began submitting my stories to literary magazines, my heart pounding with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The rejections, though disheartening, didn't deter me. I continued writing, refining my craft, honing my skills, driven by a passion that burned brighter with each passing day. And then, one day, a small literary magazine accepted one of my stories, a short piece about a young boy who discovers a magical world hidden within his own backyard. The acceptance, a small victory in the grand scheme of things, filled me with a sense of accomplishment, a validation of my newfound purpose. I shared the news with Shen You Chu, her joy mirroring my own. We celebrated with a quiet dinner at home, the simple act of sharing the moment a testament to the deep bond between us. The publication of my story, though a small step, opened doors I hadn't imagined possible. Other magazines began accepting my submissions, my work gaining recognition and praise. I was invited to literary festivals, readings, and workshops, each opportunity a chance to connect with other writers, to share my stories, to inspire and be inspired. My life, once a fragmented collection of painful memories and unfulfilled dreams, had found a new direction, a new purpose. The community center, the children, the stories, they had all played a part in my transformation, in my journey towards healing and self-discovery. And at the center of it all was Shen You Chu, her unwavering love, her unwavering belief in me, the constant anchor that kept me grounded, the guiding light that illuminated my path. I had found my place, not just in the world, but in her heart, and that was all that mattered. Chapter 9. Unexpected Connections. The ripple effect of my published stories extended beyond the literary world, creating unexpected connections and opportunities. One day, I received a call from a local film producer who had read one of my stories and was interested in adapting it into a short film. The prospect, both exciting and daunting, filled me with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. I met with the producer, a young, energetic woman named Anya, her passion for storytelling as infectious as my own. We discussed the story, her vision for the film, the challenges of translating the written word into a visual medium. Her enthusiasm, her unwavering belief in the project, convinced me to take the leap, to entrust my story to her creative vision. The film adaptation process was a whirlwind of activity: script revisions, casting calls, location scouting, and endless meetings. I was immersed in a new world, a world of cameras, lights, and action, a world far removed from the quiet solitude of my writing desk. I learned the language of filmmaking, the nuances of visual storytelling, the collaborative nature of the creative process. The filming itself was a chaotic but exhilarating experience, a symphony of moving parts orchestrated by Anya's steady hand. I watched in awe as the actors brought my characters to life, their performances capturing the essence of the story, the emotions I had poured onto the page. The children from the community center, eager to be a part of the project, were cast as extras, their infectious energy adding a touch of authenticity to the film. The premiere of the short film was a momentous occasion, a celebration of creativity, collaboration, and the power of storytelling. The children from the community center, dressed in their finest clothes, beamed with pride as they watched themselves on the big screen. Shen You Chu, radiant and supportive, stood by my side, her presence a constant source of strength and encouragement. The film received critical acclaim, winning awards at several film festivals, its message of hope and resilience resonating with audiences around the world. The success, though unexpected, was a validation of my creative journey, a testament to the power of storytelling to connect with people, to inspire change, to make a difference in the world. The film's success also brought renewed attention to my writing, leading to a publishing deal for a collection of my short stories. The book, a compilation of tales inspired by my experiences at the community center, the children, and the city that had become my home, was a tribute to the transformative power of human connection. As my writing career blossomed, I continued volunteering at the community center, my commitment to the children unwavering. The center had become more than just a place of work. It was a source of inspiration, a reminder of the importance of giving back, of using my gifts to make a difference in the lives of others. One afternoon, as I was leaving the community center, I noticed a familiar figure standing across the street. It was Liu Ru Yan, her gaze fixed on me, her expression unreadable. I hesitated, unsure how to react. Our last encounter, the awkward meeting at the golf club, had left me feeling unsettled, the unresolved emotions of our past still lingering. She crossed the street, her steps hesitant, her gaze searching mine. Boda, she said, her voice soft. Can we talk? I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. The unexpected encounter, so long after our last conversation, filled me with a sense of apprehension. What could she possibly want to say after all this time? The past, it seemed, was not so easily buried. It lingered, a ghost in the shadows, ready to resurface at the most unexpected moments. Chapter 10. Letting Go. We walked in silence to a nearby park, the familiar sounds of the city a backdrop to the unspoken tension between us. Liu Ru Yan seemed different, her usual composure replaced by a quiet vulnerability. The sharp edges of her ambition, the icy demeanor that had once captivated me, had softened, revealing a fragility I hadn't seen before. We sat on a park bench, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. Liu Ru Yan turned to me, her eyes searching mine. I wanted to apologize, she said, her voice barely a whisper. For everything. The apology, so long overdue, hung in the air between us, heavy with unspoken emotions. I looked at her, the years of resentment and anger that had once consumed me now replaced by a strange sense of peace. I've moved on, Ru Yan, I said softly. I'm happy. I hope you are too. She nodded, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. I am, she said, her voice trembling. I'm trying to be. She paused, her gaze drifting towards the children playing on the swings. I've been doing some volunteer work at a local orphanage, she continued, her voice gaining strength. It's helped me to find some peace. The revelation, unexpected and heartwarming, painted a different picture of the woman I thought I knew. The ambitious businesswoman, the ice-cold campus beauty, had been replaced by someone softer, more compassionate, more human. We talked for a long time, not about the past, but about the present, about our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations. We talked about the children, the joy they brought into our lives, the lessons they taught us about resilience, about the importance of human connection. We talked about our work, our passions, the things that gave our lives meaning and purpose. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow across the park, a sense of closure settled over me. The past, with its tangled web of emotions, finally felt resolved, the lingering shadows replaced by the soft light of forgiveness and understanding. I'm glad you're happy, Boda, Liu Ru Yan said, her voice sincere. You deserve it. Thank you, I replied, my voice filled with gratitude. I wish you the same. We stood up, the unspoken understanding between us a silent testament to the healing power of time and forgiveness. We hugged, a brief embrace that acknowledged our shared history, the pain and the joy, the love and the loss. And then we parted ways, walking in opposite directions, our paths diverging once again. As I walked home, the city lights twinkling around me, I felt a sense of lightness, a sense of freedom I hadn't realized I was missing. The past, though a part of me, no longer held me captive. I had let go not just of Liu Ru Yan, but of the anger, the resentment, the pain that had weighed me down for so long. I arrived home to find Shen You Chu waiting for me, her smile radiating warmth and love. I told her about my conversation with Liu Ru Yan, the apology, the shared moment of understanding. She listened patiently, her hand resting on mine, her touch a silent reassurance. I'm glad you found closure, Boda, she said softly. It's important to let go of the past, to embrace the present. I nodded, my heart filled with gratitude for the woman who had shown me the true meaning of love, the woman who had helped me to heal, to find my place in the world, to become the man I was always meant to be. We stood in silence for a moment, our bodies intertwined, the city lights a backdrop to our shared happiness. And then, we turned towards the future, hand in hand, ready to embrace the next chapter of our lives. A chapter filled with love, laughter, and the promise of a happily ever after.